Welcome to Tia's Table, where we talk about making fitness and wellness doable for busy women like you and me. Looking for healthy meal ideas, workout motivation, and good conversation? Don't worry, I got you, girl. Sit back, grab a snack, and let's have some girl talk. Hey girl, hey, welcome back to another episode of Tia's Table. I'm Tia, a certified group fitness instructor and nutrition coach. I help women develop healthy habits that align with their health, wellness, and fitness goals. If you or someone you know is interested in living a healthier lifestyle in a low maintenance way, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to coach you to better habits. You can do that by emailing me at tiavfitness@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at tiavfitness. We are less than a week away from wrapping up 75 hard-ish in the app, and I am so proud of all of the results that have been shared with me. The women have learned so much about what's going to work for them after the challenge. They know exactly what they need to do to keep up with the habits that they have developed to continue to get the results that they've been getting, and that warms my fitness-loving heart. Now, I will be starting a new challenge over in the app in a couple weeks. That challenge is going to be based on nutrition and walking. I'm keeping it very simple. That, and I do believe in giving yourself like cycles of hard and soft. So I feel like 75 hard, no matter what version of it you decide to do, can be very time consuming, and it can be, it can be a little challenging. So I always try to do a different kind of challenge after that one's been wrapped to give people just a bit of a break, somewhat of a mental release, but to give them something that still holds them accountable and still teaches them something, still lets them build on the habits that they may have learned in 75 hard. So for the next challenge, we will be focusing on food and walking, because at the end of the day, those two things set a strong foundation for any fitness journey, and those two things alone can get you really great results. So if you still need help trying to figure out how to make eating well work for you, that challenge is for you. If you're someone who is at the very beginning of your fitness journey, or you're someone who maybe is clocking like maybe 5,000 or so steps a day or less, this challenge can be for you. Because the goal with that challenge will be to get at least 10 to 12,000 steps a day. But primarily, the goal with this upcoming challenge is to really dial deep into the nutrition of it all. I really want people to learn how to eat in a way that is sustainable for them, eating by numbers, right? So I'm not going to hide or shy away from that. If you decide to do that challenge, you will be in a calorie deficit, because I feel like that's kind of what people probably want to learn the most. We all know how to eat, right? But we just need to know how to eat in a way that aligns with the goals that we have for ourselves. So if you're interested in that, either email me, or for a quicker response, message me on Instagram, and I would love to connect with you and get you all ready for the next challenge. Now, and really quickly before we move on, if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, which is now a digital magazine, get subscribed. The March issue, girl, it's a little late because I went on vacation, but it's going to be great and you're not going to want to miss it. So get signed up for that too, and you can get that every month to your inbox. Okay, so now let's talk about what is on Tia's table today. Now, listen, girl, I just got back from vacation. And while I was away, I ate a lot of great food in St. Lucia, as expected, right? The local food there was just mind-blowing. So good, so good. And I am going to try to recreate some of those meals here at home, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about two things. Both of them happen to be pasta. So, and it's fine because we eat carbs over here, right? But just keep that in mind before I get into these two meals. The first one was the in-flight meal that I had with Delta on the way back home from St. Lucia. I selected the veggie lasagna. And, I don't think my expectations were that high. I just knew that after having eaten like all of the things while I was on vacation, I was like, it's probably a good idea for me to eat something that is veggie based, something that hopefully will taste good. And, if it's not great, this flight will be over in a few hours and I can get something to eat when we get back in Atlanta. When that tray made it to my little seat, I said to myself, well, it looks great. The potential is there, right? It was a very nice serving of veggie lasagna. It came with a side salad, and it came with a balsamic vinaigrette that had a little bit of a spice, a little bit of a kick to it. It had some peppery notes in there somewhere, which I said to myself, duly noted, the next time I make balsamic vinegar at home, not balsamic vinegar, but a balsamic vinaigrette at home, I need to add a little bit of spice to it because that dressing was really good, right? It came with that. And then for the dessert, we had like a cheesecake that had a little blueberry, I don't know if we can call it a compote, but it was like a little blueberry situation served on the side. That cheesecake was A1. And I love a cheesecake, right? I get cheesecake almost everywhere we go if it's on the menu, especially if it's served with like a blueberry whatever. Like I love a blueberry cheesecake. Cheesecake was delicious, but we're going to focus on that lasagna because it was amazing. Now, I don't know how the good folks at Delta managed to make a veggie lasagna that definitely got warmed up in a microwave, I'm sure. I don't know how they managed to keep those veggies like crunchy. They had the perfect bite to them. They were just well seasoned, just so good, even though they were inside a lasagna that had plenty of sauce and plenty of cheese. I don't know what Delta magic got put into that lasagna. But if you happen to be on a Delta flight that's serving food, girl, order that veggie lasagna because that meal was incredible. I'm going to put it right up there with Delta ginger ale. And if you are a Delta girl, you know all about the ginger ale on Delta. People always talk about McDonald's Sprite, and I totally understand that. But to me, nothing is better than the ginger ale on a Delta flight. They can keep them cookies. Now, I do like the sun chips with my Delta ginger ale. I do enjoy the sun chip, but they can keep them snacks. You can just give me the ginger ale and you can give me this veggie lasagna every time. Now, I know probably the next time I fly, they probably won't even be offering this veggie lasagna anymore. But if you happen to be flying sometime soon and you see the veggie lasagna being offered, girl, choose it. Pick it. Because my husband got whatever the cold cut tray thing was. He got that, and I'm like, okay, you can get that grown-up Lunchable if you want to. I mean, it didn't look bad, but it definitely wasn't what I had on my tray. It was delicious. 10 out of 10. Delta, girl, you're going to give me a reason to come back every time. Now, for our next meal, I am going to have to share the Duchess one-pot pasta is absolutely delicious. Now, if you have not seen With Love Meghan at the time of this call, that's fine. This episode is going to talk a lot about that and her and the show and all of that. So spoiler alert for the upcoming conversation. But in the very first episode, she makes a one-pot pasta, which the concept of a one-pot pasta is not new to any of us, right? I think her ingredients were just so simple and impactful. Like you didn't need that many ingredients. It's all like fresh stuff. And it was so good. I literally could not even believe it. Because as a person who cooks all the time, almost every day, sometimes some weeks I cook every day. Some weeks I'm only doing about 3 to 4 days, right? But as someone who cooks a lot, when you are a person that cooks a lot, you know what goes into making something taste really good. And for her recipe to have
very little as far as ingredients are concerned, but to taste so good. I'm like, girl, you have won me over. Like, I'm ready and excited to try a lot of the other things that are in some of the other episodes. Now, a few things about the one pot pasta. I made our pasta from scratch because, as you know, or you may not know, I don't know, but I took a pasta making class back in February. As we all know, we all made the 2025 bingo cards. One of the things on my bingo card was to take a pasta making class because, as we also might remember, last year I found the pasta attachment for my stand mixer on sale, like on the clearance rack at my grocery store. And sometimes I can't remember if I told these stories on this podcast or the other one. But so just hang in there if you've heard this story before. So one day I'm in Kroger. I always check the clearance rack. I see the pasta attachment on the clearance rack. I can't even believe it. I instantly start sweating and I put it in my cart because I think it was $68. And if you know anything about KitchenAid stand attachments, you know they cost way more than that. So I see it. I instantly put it in my cart and I'm like, you're going home with me because I'll never see this again for $68. Right? So now that I have the attachment, I'm like, well, now I have to learn how to make pasta because now I have the attachment and I can. So I put it on my board. I was talking to my husband about the fact that I want to learn how to make pasta because I see people doing it on all these cooking competitions. And if they can make pasta during a cooking competition, during like a quick fire challenge, surely it can't be as hard as I'm making it up in my mind to be because they're doing it under all that pressure. I don't have that pressure in my kitchen. So I should be able to make pasta if I take a class and someone teaches me. And so didn't think much of it. I found a place in the city that does pasta classes. And I think I saved it either on our computer or maybe I texted it to myself. I don't know. But some kind of way he found out where the pasta making classes were. He buys me a ticket to the pasta making class. And so we go. We went like a couple weeks ago. Well, we went the week before our trip. So we go to the pasta making class. It's only like an hour and a half class. They teach you how to make the dough and how to cut the dough. It's a very fast-paced class, but because it is truly like a simple, now that I've learned it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't as hard as I was making it up to be in my mind. It's truly like a simple thing. You just basically have to learn your own machine at home, which is something that I had to do. So the way they taught us in class, I wasn't able to replicate that process exactly at home because my machine is different than the machine they had at the class, which is okay. It's a learning process. So now I know what levels and things to do to make my own pasta. Got it? Yes. Kneading the dough is very time consuming. It takes about 10 to, I would say, because I'm still a newbie, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get that dough just right. It took me about that long. At one point, I was tired of kneading it, and because he took the class too, I was like, hey, you can come in here and like knead this dough for me because at this point she's a little tired and she could be cutting vegetables or doing something else that she would actually enjoy. So he kneaded the dough the rest of the way. And then after, you've got your ball of dough, then it really is just that quick, simple, and easy to cut it. Like, it is the most amazing thing. And I can very well see, and now I understand how people on TikTok are making fresh pasta all the time. Now, see, I don't know if y'all got rid of Nara Smith or not. I haven't seen any of her videos on my FYP in a very long time. And did I unfollow Nara? I may have unfollowed her. I don't know. Anyway, we're not talking about that. I can see why, though, people like her are making fresh pasta when they choose to have it, because once you learn how to do it, it really is not a time-consuming process. Maybe it's a little messy. Maybe it's less messy the better you get at doing it, though, possibly. But other than that, I could see how it could be like a 30-minute meal situation, and I'm not overselling it in the least bit. Like, it's doable. Anybody could do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it, right? Anyway, so we make the pasta. We follow through with her recipe. Now, to be honest with you, I went to the grocery store and got everything I needed for that recipe except for the lemon. And the Duchess loves a lemon. She puts lemon zest and lemon juice in a lot of things. I forgot to buy a lemon. And at that point in the evening, I was not going back to the store to get one. So I said, you know what? It's fine. What we will do is we will work with what we've got. And I do keep a truffle oil like ready to go. So instead of ours being like a lemon based, we will go with like a truffle based pasta, and ain't nobody gonna hate on that once that is married with Parmesan cheese. And I used a little bit of the Kerrygold garlic and herb butter in there too. And when I mean to tell y'all that was good, it was so good, it was quiet at my dinner table. And that never happens. Now, also, just to keep things as transparent as possible, we have friends that live over in Italy. And see, and this is why community is so important. And this is also why it's important to always surround yourself with people who just genuinely love you, like from a deep place. So we have friends that live in Italy right now. And when I first started talking about wanting to make pasta, I was excited about the pasta attachment, because to know me is to know that when I found that pasta attachment on the clearance rack for $68, I told everybody. I told all my parents, and I've got a lot of them. I told all my parents. I told my friends, like I told everybody, like, can you believe it? And everybody either was genuinely excited for me, or they were like, oh, Tia, that's nice for you. We're so happy that you're happy about this thing you found on a clearance rack. But when I'm telling all my friends about this, my friends that live in Italy were like, oh my gosh, you're going to learn to make pasta. And I was like, well, I am now, because I just found this on the clearance rack for $68. They were like, oh girl, say less. The next thing you know, I get a box in the mail full of all of these Italian pasta making goodies. Like they sent me pasta flour. They sent me like a pack of seasoning, and I don't know what that would be, because all of the labels are in Italian. But when you look at the seasoning, it looks like it's probably got some dried herbs in there, some red pepper flakes, and maybe a couple other things too. I would have to take a picture of it and put it on Instagram for people to see it. But I used that to season the pasta. That with the garlic that she already told us to put in there. I did put a little bit of salt in mine because she said Harry always puts a little bit of salt on his food after he gets it. And she did say that she undersalts because of that. And so I was like, okay, well, we don't do table salt at my house, so I'll go ahead and salt this a little bit. But I don't know. You would have to watch the episode. The pasta is good. Even if you make it exactly like she did, your pasta will be great. I just happen to have had to make a few changes because I didn't have the lemon. And then my friends had sent me all of these pasta making things. And of course, I'm like, oh, I'm making pasta from scratch. The least I can do is make it using the things that they sent me from Italy, because yes, of course. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. It was so good. It was so good. First of all, I had seconds of pasta. It was so good that we barely have any leftovers, which really kind of bums me out a little bit, because I was anticipating everyone having leftovers for dinner tonight, and now I have to cook again because it was that good that we ate almost that whole pot of pasta. Like after my husband eats lunch today, there will be no pasta for those children when they get out of school. I mean, there might be, but it won't be enough for all three of them. And, you know, you got 3 kids, you got to feed all 3. That's what I have come to learn. So if you have not seen that show, or if you are not on Threads following along with everybody who's making everything, you are missing out, because what a time to be a Black woman that likes to do stuff, because we're doing all of the things. And it has been so much fun watching other people do the things. It has been fun for myself, getting back to doing what I feel I actually like to do, and not being like low key, kind of like ashamed of it. And we've talked about that on one of these podcasts. I kind of shared that like, ooh, I really don't even like sharing so much of like my real life outside of fitness, because I always felt like, you kind of get judged a little bit, or people kind of would look at you kind of sideways for like whatever. But I think maybe her show is starting a whole new revolution, because we were maybe always doing these things in secret, apparently, and nobody was actually sharing it. And now to see people sharing all of the things that they've been doing and they just weren't telling anybody has been refreshing for me. And it has helped me and touched me in a way that I would never be able to actually put into words on a podcast. Like, I'm so happy to see it, because it's celebrating who I think a lot of us are, like, behind closed doors. Because I think at some point, maybe this was like a 90s thing, and now we're getting into like the main topic of the reason I'm calling you. Okay. But I think maybe in the 90s, when it became not popular, but I think women just had to, like, they had to be like a strong, progressive career woman. And I think that's great. And I feel like we still got to be that way. Like, you still got to go to work and whatever. But I think what happened is people forgot, or maybe they just decided to, at some point in us coming into being who we are now, they kind of started frowning upon that other side of people. It was like your grandma was the person who made all the special punches, and she knew how to make the cakes, and she could make these really fabulous meals, and everybody would always go to her house and she would host. But then like the generation after her really wasn't doing it on the level of the grandma. And then certainly like my generation, like they're not doing it. They're not doing it, really. Not all that much. And if they are doing it, they don't make that a big part of who they are, at least not vocally. And I hope I'm saying this in a way that is not like sounding mean or like offensive or judgy, but they don't make that a part of their big personality. When you talk to people and you say like, oh, what do you like to do? Or like, what do you do? Or whatever, like that small talk people have when, you're meeting people and getting to know them. People tend to lead with what they do. Like, people say like, Tia, what do you do? And I would say, oh, I work in behavior change in the fitness industry. I help women like learn how to eat better, follow a nutrition guide, yada, yada, yada. Like, I would say that's what I did. However, that is not who I am. I think to know me in real life is to know that I'm very much so like that first episode of With Love Meghan. So she had me from episode 1. When she was talking about making that guest room feel like a little sanctuary for the people who came to visit her, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Because when people come to visit us, all they talk about is how good of a sleep they get in our guest room. They rave about sleeping in my guest room to the point where me and my husband always say, we need to go down there and sleep one night and see what the people are talking about. Like, we need to experience this. We still haven't, because I also feel like if we sleep down there, then somehow that's going to taint the experience for people, which I know is like a crazy thing to think. But I feel that way. I'm like, well, no, we can't actually sleep down there ever, because that might mess up the juju that's going on in there. But yeah, she had me from episode 1. And when people come to visit, I have like a tray on the nightstand with, I normally do like chocolates and bottled water, or maybe like some type of salty snack. So maybe I would do like the little tiny like miniature bags of like chips or something like that. I put that on the nightstand. There's probably a candle over there. I make the remotes readily available to people. In the drawer of the nightstand, I'll have some magazines or whatever for people should they want to look through something or flip through something or read a book. Like, it's things in there. But I had never thought to make the bathroom experience that special. So when she started making the Epsom salt, I said, oh, now maybe people wouldn't actually take a bath at my house like they might not, but that is a lovely to-go gift for them. I could make Epsom salts, or I could make salts like for myself even, because I love a good bath. And that's also something that's on my list for 2025. Like, it's on my bingo thing to get into the habit of having like a really good ritual for a bath at least once a week. But when she was making that, I was like, oh yes. Then when she made the candles, I was like, now I don't have beeswax, but she says you can buy them online. So the candle making, I'm like, how fun would that be to do with my kids or to do with guests before they leave and they can take their candle home? I love it. Like, she had me at episode 1. She had me at episode 1. So now let's put a little pin right there and let's talk about how important it is to have that good feeling that you get when you can relate to somebody or when you feel like there's a sense of community, and how it makes you feel when that's not there, right? Okay, so as we know, I was on a trip last week and it was lovely. Like, it was a great trip. It's always good to go on vacation, and I will talk about the actual vacation and all of the things we did and saw and whatever, ate. I will talk about that over on my other number. What I wanted to talk about here, though, because I feel like it ties in with some of the conversation that's going on around Meghan's show, is the idea that either Black women don't do things, or Black women don't have things, or these are just things we don't do, or whatever. I don't know how the best way to position this. But what I do know is that when I was on vacation, we were at a resort. The resort was amazing. The service was great. So this is not about the resort in and of itself. Like, I will give a review of the resort over on my other number when I talk about the trip. So this is not about the resort. However, I don't think other people of like other races ever experience this. I know they don't. Like, I know for a fact that they don't experience this. But as a Black woman, we know what it feels like when you step into a place or a room or whatever, and you realize you are the only. Because then you start scanning for another, right? And when we first got to our resort, it was evening time. So like, it was starting to get dark. People weren't out at the pool, like the pools were closed. People were going out to dinner and things like that. And so, we're walking through the resort and getting our little tour. We decided to go ahead and eat because we had just gotten there. And, travel day is always a long day. Our flight left Atlanta at, I think, 9 something in the morning. But because of that, we had to get to the airport when we have to get to the airport, because you got to park the car, go through security, which honestly took no time. Just a tip, if you ever come to Atlanta or use the Atlanta airport and you park your car there, use the ATL West parking deck. That might be giving away a hack that I shouldn't share, but I try not to gatekeep around here. Park at ATL West. It's a parking deck, so your car will be covered. It's well lit. People must not even know about it. Now, you do have to take the SkyTrain from that parking lot to the actual airport, but it's not like you got to walk. I mean, you do have to walk to the SkyTrain, but once you're on the SkyTrain, like the airport pretty much moves you to where you're supposed to be. You get on the SkyTrain, you go through your choice of the security line. Once you're on the other side of security, you probably have to get on the other SkyTrain and take your little self to where your gate is or whatever, but it's not. Park at ATL West. I say all of that to say park at ATL West. If you should find that you are at the airport and it's because people talk real bad about the Atlanta airport and I really don't understand it. Park at ATL West parking. Anyway, so we're walking through and we had been up very early, right? So we look like what we've been through because that's just what happens to most people. And, went to that dinner and I was tired, but I was hungry. And it was fine. Like we had a great dinner, whatever. We get back to the room, we settle, whatever. Now the next day at the pool, or like walking through the resort and at the pool and stuff, I am looking for another. I am. And I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. Like, there's no way that we are the only, that we can't be. But as each day went on, I'm like, oh no, I think we're the only black couple here. We're the only. We are the only. Which does create for me somewhat of an unsettling feeling. Like, I don't like being the only. I don't even understand how people like being the only. Like, I would never want to be the only. I don't want to be the only in my neighborhood. I don't want to be the only at work. I don't want to be the only at school. I don't want to be the only at the grocery store. Nowhere. I don't want to be the only ever. Right? So all week, I'm sorry, my hand just hit the microphone. I don't know if you could hear it, but all week, you know, people have small talk with you. Not that I'm seeking out opportunities for this, but people are having small talk with you because some people genuinely just want to make small talk because y'all are sitting next to each other on an excursion van or something like that, right? Some people want to make small talk with you because they are trying to figure things out. I think when you present maybe a little younger than what you actually are, that causes unnecessary confusion for some of them. I think when you are just black and on vacation at the same place as them, that creates some confusion for them. It shouldn't, because when I'm on vacation, I'm not thinking about how other people got there or how they know about this place. I'm not thinking about you at all unless I can feel you staring at me. And then I'm like, why are the people not reading their books or doing something? I don't know. Like, why? Why? And I'm not going to lie to you. There were certain moments during that vacation where my husband and I joked to one another, like, this really feels like an episode, like the beach edition, the vacation edition of Get Out, just a little bit, like just a little bit. It really did. But, you know, as the days went on, I had to keep telling myself, oh, Tia, for a lot of people, they're just not used to, they're not used to it. They're not used to seeing nobody that's not white be able to do the same things that they are doing, comfortably, might I add. Now, one of the things that stood out to me is that this resort is kind of like everywhere in the Caribbean, right? Like they've got locations everywhere. And so people like to normally share what other resorts they've been to. Sometimes people would ask us that, and before we could even answer, they would just assume the only other place that we had ever been to was Jamaica, which felt like a microaggression to me. Like because we're black, you're just assuming that the only other place we would even know about is Jamaica, which no shade, no tea for me, because next year I will be in Jamaica. I have been wanting to go for quite some time. It just has happened this way that I just haven't been yet. But when people would say like, oh, you guys have probably been to the ones in Jamaica, we would be like, no, we have never been to Jamaica. Right. So that just gives you a little bit of an example of some of the small talk that got on my nerves during this trip. That and the fact that they would literally tell me their life story. Like some of the women, I would be sitting there minding my own business. And they would be like, oh my God, what do you do? What does your husband do? Blah, blah, blah. And maybe by like the second or third time, I felt like I was in a situation where I didn't have to, but where I was kind of like in that small talk situation, I literally stopped even telling people anything about me because of what I noticed was that the women would be like, oh my gosh, yeah, my husband does this and he does that and yada, 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 whatever. And then they would say, you know, like one woman told me, like, I have my real estate license But I have 7 kids. All of them are married. We have 14 grandchildren. I know about their Christmas traditions. I know that at some point in time, her husband works in development for real estate. I know at some point in time, instead of him getting his commission for whatever property he sold, he worked it into his deal just to get all of the furniture from the model home. And it was over $100,000 worth of furniture. They put it in a warehouse. And that year for Christmas, they let their kids pull like tickets, like number tickets. And they just let their kids shop the warehouse for furniture for their homes. Because apparently that year, like almost all of them had either moved or bought new homes or like whatever. Like everybody was moving and they needed furniture. So, and she's just telling me this, like, yeah, every Christmas we do this. Like they really pour it on thick. And at one point during the trip, I said, oh, I wonder if they pour it on so thick because they want me to know that even though we're at the same resort, like, baby, we don't live the same life. Right? Or at least that's how I walked away. Feeling like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. But see, what you don't know about me, because I'm not about to sit here and tell you my whole life story and nothing about my family. Like, I'm going to tell you just enough to keep this conversation, like, doable for me. But what you don't know is that, lady, well, you do know I'm a lot younger than you. You know that, because that is obvious. But what you don't know is that, honey, I don't care. I don't care, and she lives a good life. And maybe prior to this, I would have had a hard time saying that. But I see y'all don't have a hard time letting people know that. So what did I start doing at some point during this trip? When I was forced to be in conversation, I said, let me take a little page from their little playbook. Because what you won't do is brag, dump on me and think that that's going to be okay. And so, because sometimes I can be a little petty, not naturally, it's not naturally who I am, but I think I just got sick and tired on this trip with this whole thing. At one point, people are talking, yada, 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 and I'm sitting there quiet, minding my own business, because this was at like a dinner where, oh no, this conversation actually happened on an excursion, actually. And you know how on an excursion, they take you somewhere, then you probably stop and you have lunch somewhere, and then you go somewhere else, and it's like a long day. So you really do end up sitting like shoulder to shoulder with these people all day. So we're at the little lunch, right? Beautiful views, eating really great Caribbean food. She's telling me everything about her life and like what her husband does and blah, 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 blah. And so she was like, well, what do you guys do? Whatever. I was like, no, baby. I told her, I got this. So then I did it. I did exactly what she did to me. I told her what my husband does for a living, which I could already tell she was impressed by, even though she didn't want to say it. I told her, and I never tell people exactly what he does. I told her exactly what he does because I knew I would never see this woman again. And her eyes stretched from her unfilled eyebrows all the way down to her non-existent bottom lashes. So I'm like, oh, honey, I know I got you. And so then she was like, well, what do you do? And instead of telling her what I do for work, I was like, oh, we have kids. I go to Pilates. I'm learning to make pasta. I just took a pasta class before we came on this trip. I'm learning to play the guitar. Like I just went into all of the other things that you don't necessarily think to tell people when they ask you what your life is like. But I went into the fun of my life. And I was like, yeah, I tend to really have all of the fun. And he goes to work because that's what he liked to do for fun, actually. It's the most bizarre thing. That is our life, and it works for me. I love it for me. The way you could have bought that woman with $1. Because how dare I not only be on the same trip as her, on the same excursion as her, but I also seemingly have a good life outside of this trip. She was looking at me like the audacity of it all. Now, how does that connect with our good sis, the Duchess? Well, because while I was on this trip, Meghan's show came out. And while I chose not to watch it while I was away because I didn't want to watch it on my phone, I felt like the Duchess required television screen time. I was reading a lot of the things people had to say. And people were like just torn to pieces that she was cooking on Le Creuset and she's making all these things. And they kept throwing around the word unrelatable. She's unrelatable. She's unrelatable. I can't relate to that. And then I had to think to myself, she's unrelatable to who? After I saw the show for myself, I'm like, she's unrelatable to who? Granted, we all live different lives. There's more than a million ways to experience the life that it is to be a Black woman. Like it's a lot of different ways to live your life, right? So some of the stuff that she's doing might be unrelatable. For example, she makes her own honey. She's got bees, right? When I saw that, I'm like, well, now I can't relate to making my own honey. But what I say, like, oh, she's unrelatable, or what I say all these bad things about her because she makes honey and I don't, no. I would just watch that and say, she makes her own her own honey. But you know what I could do? Maybe instead of getting the honey that I get, maybe I could try buying from like a local artisan or farmer, right? Maybe I could try elevating my little honey experience because I know I'm never going to have bees in my backyard because I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Now, I have friends who are very much so interested in making their own honey. And if they start making their own honey, I'm going to ask them if I can buy some. I'm going to ask if I can buy some from them. So is it unrelatable, or are people just surprised to know that Black women are doing these things? And I would also just like to tie this into what we all talk about over here, that are you surprised that they're doing these things for fun, like as part of what makes them feel good? And they're not doing it in service to somebody else. Because see, now what I think I have learned is that people are quite okay with you making honey if your goal is to make that honey and then sell it at a farmer's market. People are fine with that. People are fine with you baking cakes if you're taking orders at Thanksgiving and Christmas to make money off of it. People are okay with you, they might be okay with you making your own pasta if you're doing what? Making plates and selling them. People might be okay with you making bath salts if you're selling them. You can make your own candles if you're selling them. If you're doing it in service of something, people are fine with you doing it if you are a Black woman. What people cannot seem to wrap their heads around is that maybe you do these things for fun, even though it benefits no one but yourself and the people that live in your house or are lucky enough to come to your house. I think that's the part that's got people real like tight right now. Like they are like, ooh, we did not know that Black women were cooking with Le Creuset, and we did not know that they were baking cakes for no reason. It's not even a holiday. Like it's not even Easter yet. And y'all are baking cakes just because, like you're just doing it. They didn't know that. They didn't know that. And for whatever reason, that's got them in a tizzy. Now, I know for a fact that the more often you do the things that you actually enjoy doing, the healthier you are. Like you live a much healthier life when you're doing the things that bring you joy, which if you watch that show, or if you have watched it and you feel like playing it again in the background or watching it again, listen to how many times she mentions to people whatever brings you joy. Or she'll say about herself, like, this brings me so much joy. She mentions that and says that a lot because she already knows and understands that she doesn't do that stuff for a TV show. Like I'm sure she's getting rewarded financially for doing it on TV, but you can tell that girl was doing that stuff when there were no cameras. Like, we all know she had a lifestyle blog way back in the day when she was on Suits. Like, we've learned that by now. So this is who she just is. When the people were coming on her show, the people who have known her and are friends with her, they say like, oh, but you've always been this way. Like, even when you lived in Canada, I would come to your house and you would always have something for me to eat when I got there. That right there is peak Black woman. Because you're not going to come to my house and I don't have something for, especially if I knew you were coming. If we made plans and I knew you were coming, then yes, absolutely. When you get to my house, I probably have a freshly made pound cake waiting for you that I have not even allowed my family to cut into yet. Because that's how I was raised. That's what I saw growing up. If I know you're coming to my house and you're going to be a guest in my home, then before you get to my house, I already know what snacks you like. I have already filled them in the pantry or like placed a few of them on the bedside table, right? I have done that in preparation of you coming because that is what I saw growing up and that is how I was raised. And it is shocking and quite alarming to me that other people, this whole concept is just lost on them. And by other people, I mean everybody. I'm not even going to sit here and single out white women on this because I've seen on threads where some of us are like, this is unrelatable or I can't do this or whatever. And it's like, you can. I refuse to believe, or I know for a fact, it's not that I refuse to believe it. I know for a fact because we hear these women's stories. So this also lets me know that y'all just don't listen to anybody who's different than you or who might be living a different life than you. But if you listen to people when they share their lived experience, you would hear them say, oh, we didn't have much growing up, but my mom always did this, or my mom always had that, or she always made me such and such, or, at the holiday season, we always blah, blah, blah. People make things special when they want to. If it's a priority for them, they will, regardless of how they live. Now, of course, Meghan is the Duchess of Sussex. She is married to Prince Harry. That is Diana's baby. They got long, old money, right? They got royal money, for crying out loud. And Meghan was a successful actress on a hit TV show on a major network when she met him. She used to be on the Today Show or like Good Morning America, I can't remember which one, doing these segments, like what we're watching on With Love Meghan. She was doing that on morning network TV before she was ever even married to him. So she had some change in her own pocket. She has been doing this kind of stuff. It's not new to her. Many of us, regardless of our background, have been doing this stuff. It's not new to us. Maybe some of the ideas are new. Maybe the way we go about it or the way she's teaching us to go about it, some of that might be a little new. But it's not new to who we have always known ourselves to be. And I think when we got away from doing some of this stuff, now this is not for the people who never had this in them. So I don't want to get that confused, because some people just don't like to cook. They don't like to bake. They have no interest in it. And that's cool. I celebrate whoever you are, because you might be into stuff that is not my strong suit. So if you're somebody who's like, maybe you grew up with a grandma who was like dressed down every day, like your grandma had all of the accessories and she was glamorous and she would stunt on the congregation every Sunday. Like maybe that was your lived experience. So now you grew up under that kind of influence. And so now you're a fashion girly. We admire that and we celebrate that for you. Maybe you're the person who knows all of the spring 20-something lines and you know all about all of the designers and you know how to mix high and low pieces and make them work. Girl, we celebrate that and we love that for you. That might not be my thing, but I would never say to you, you're unrelatable because you buy X, Y, and Z. Or because your joy comes from X, Y, and Z, I can't relate to you. No, I can relate to you. I just know that that's not who I am, but I can absolutely relate to wanting to love what I look like and have on nice things, or like just simply like my outfit. I can relate to that. I feel like the way people are dumping on her is actually an attack on her wellness. What she does to bring herself joy and to keep her nervous system calm, I feel like all of the things people are saying are an attack on that. Like it's saying, oh, we don't want you to be happy. If that's what you do, or if this is the life that you've been living, unbeknownst to the rest of us, look at how happy you are. We don't want you to be happy. So my takeaway from all of this is, don't let people do that to you. Don't let people yuck your yum, because what you allow them to do when you do that is you allow them to attack your wellness journey and your wellness process. Because see, first it starts out by, and I'm guilty of this too. First, it starts out by people making little comments like, oh, she just does so-and-so, or all she does is this, or, blah, blah, blah. You know how people talk. So it starts with you saying, oh, okay, well, maybe, even though I really love baking cakes and I really love putting pictures of my cakes online or whatever, maybe I won't share that much anymore, right? And so then it's a domino effect. So then we don't have women sharing this stuff, which then means people will feel like they can't relate to you when you do it because they don't see anybody else doing it. But what that first domino does when it falls over, it'll trickle all the way down to a place where now you are literally unhappy. When you are unhappy, you become so much more sensitive to the other things people say. And you might start to take things personally. You might start to become a person who is easily offended when you're not living in your peak joy, right? You might become a person who now is easily offended, kind of sensitive, maybe a little insecure or unsure, or you feel like you've bottled up your personality to a point where now it might start to affect your health. Because that's a low key, that's a stress. Like that's an internal stressor if people don't know that, right? You have got to let your goodness out. You cannot keep it bottled up inside you. And I have had to learn that for myself. We've talked about that a lot on one of these podcasts. You've got to let it out, because then once you start keeping it in and that becomes a stressor for you, that'll start to affect whether you work out or not. That'll start to affect if you're eating really well or not, right? That will start to affect a lot of things. So if you don't take anything else away from watching her show, or maybe following people online, or even listening to this podcast, know that when people are seemingly different from you, it's not that you can't relate to them. It's just that y'all got different hobbies. I can literally understand and relate to lots of women. It doesn't mean that I know that everything they do is for me. And in reverse, everything I do is not for everybody. Like, one of the first things I'm quick to tell people is, especially if they don't have no kids, I'm quick to be like, oh, you don't have any kids? That's amazing. Especially if you don't want them. Like, oh, yes, girl, live your life. Can I relate to a child-free life? No, but I remember what it was like. So I understand why people choose not to have kids. And I love that for them. I'm like, yes, girl, do your job, travel the world, do your thing, whatever that is, because I can relate to you. I can relate to your choice making, even if I know that is not a life that I chose for myself. So when you see somebody doing things that are absolutely harmless, like having a garden, having chickens, cooking, making popcorn in the microwave from a fresh ear of corn, like whatever it is that you see her doing on this show, you should be able to look at that and say, now maybe I wouldn't choose to put such and such amount of effort into whatever. But if she's happy doing that and that brings her joy and it's not bothering anybody, I'm not having to pay for her to do these things. I'm not having to feed her chickens. And she talks about that. Like, yeah, I get up early in the morning. I come out here and I feed these chickens. Okay. Then I collect the eggs because I got to get back inside and make that frittata. Yes, that might not be the life we have. It's not my life. I live on a cul-de-sac in the Atlanta metro area. I don't got no chickens. I know someone who does, though. I don't have a garden. I know several people that do, though. And I try to have a garden. I'm going to plant another one. My gardens just aren't very fruitful and successful. Is it still a garden if it doesn't grow anything? I don't know. I would have to check with one of my friends about that. But just because someone else maybe has something that you don't, or they're doing something that you just outright either don't or won't, it doesn't make that person unrelatable. It just means y'all have different sources of joy. And what brings you joy might not be the same thing that brings someone else joy, but it doesn't mean that we cannot relate to one another. I relate to a lot of the things other women are doing. They're just not choices that maybe I have made for myself or that I would make. And I hope that after watching with Love Meghan, not only do you say to yourself, what can I do in my life to make my life feel a lot more special, but what can I do to bring that little bit of joy to those around me? And by me saying to those around me, I mean the people that live in my house, first and foremost. Who are those people that either live in your house or that frequent your house the most? What can I do to make their time with me feel special? Because that's really what community is all about. That's why everybody used to like going to their grandma's house, because it had that good aura on it. It was nothing like eating at your grandma's house with all of the chatter and the busyness and the smells and the good food. Like, it would touch all of your senses. A lot of, I think, what happens in life today that keeps people off of their wellness path or off of their fitness journey is that, number one, they don't do enough of the things that make them happy. And two, people really don't tap into their five senses, I think, enough. Do not underestimate the impact that joy has on all of the other areas of your life. Don't underestimate that, because it's big. Not only that, but if you are doing things that are cool or fun, or you feel like, it's just something that comes natural to you, if you feel like you want to share it, let's get back to a place of sharing it. I'm not saying everybody needs to become a content creator, because God knows, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, if you make your dog biscuits, I have a dog, show them to me. Like, show me the dog biscuits. Because the more I see people doing things, the more I'm at least willing to try it one time if it speaks to me. I'll give it a shot. Or I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Such and such is making biscuits for her dog. And I love that her cute little dog gets homemade biscuits. But maybe I just don't have time for that. Or maybe I just don't want to allocate time to that. And that's okay. You can fully celebrate someone else's joy without yucking it. We got to stop doing that. We have to get back to a place where we're celebrating the realness of life. And we've got to also get back to a place where we're actually sharing and showing the realness of the things that brings us joy. And no matter what that is for you, share it. Because while there are a million people who will say, I can't relate to that, there are probably a million people who can. And you've just got to find your community. Like on Threads, if you're not on there, my whole Threads timeline right now is literally everything that Meghan is making on her show. Like, I have found my little community over there. And it's people who certainly they have other things going on in their life. Certainly they are busy people, but they are also people who say, oh, now you know what? I would like to make that cake, or I would like to make that frittata, and I might do that on Saturday. Or I might do that when I get home from work and have it for dinner. Or I might do that when my girlfriends come over for brunch. Or I might even host brunch. Instead of us going to a restaurant, I might host it, because now I see where it's not as difficult as maybe I thought it would be. We got to get back to that. We've got to get back to that, and we cannot allow what people think we should be doing or should be having affect whether or not we continue to attempt to be relatable and in community with each other. We cannot do that. And that is what I learned on my trip and from watching Meghan's timely show. We belong everywhere. We can have anything, and it's okay to share it and tell it, because the more we share it and tell it, the more normal and relatable I think it would become. And then lastly, before we move on, somebody should make shirts that say unrelatable. I would buy one, especially if it's like a crop that I could wear to Pilates, like a short sleeve crop, or like a tank, like a fitness tank, kind of loose, flowy, you know? I don't want it to be fitted, like loose and flowy, cropped or uncropped, because I know that's a whole conversation too. Everything don't have to be cropped. But then it says in really big letters going across the front, unrelatable. I would like that. I would buy it. I would also buy those edible flowers that she sprinkles on everything. I've got to find those. I pulled up a website that sells the seeds, so I'm thinking maybe I'll just grow my own edible flowers, because I really liked how she just kind of pulled them off, and she wasn't necessarily always using dried ones from a can. Love that. I have already purchased myself some new aprons. Like, I'm telling you, the more we see each other doing and living these really special moments, the more it sparks joy. And it's just like a little birthday candle. You light one candle, then your joy will spark another one. My joy might spark another one, and so on and so forth, until everybody is doing the things that they like, which makes you healthier. Because when you're happier, you tend to take better care of yourself, right? Go watch that show. For the workout report, I'm getting back into my regular routine, back in Pilates. I'm going to take that level 2 test. I know I said I wouldn't do it, but now that I'm back, I'm like, you know what? The worst thing that could happen is they will just tell me I'm not ready for level 2, at which point I'm not out of anything. So yes, level 2, very excited to take that test. I spoke to my instructor after class on Monday, and she was like, oh, since you weren't here when we did the test date, she was like, I'll just test you one day during class, and then we can go from there. And I was like, okay, girl, cool. Because she was like, some stuff I know you can do. Some stuff I need to see you do it, because sometimes you operate from your low back, meaning like I arch my booty up when really you're supposed to tuck that tailbone and keep it underneath your spine. And I know that. But then I'm like, I don't know. That's just like hashtag girl with booty problems. Like, I don't think I'm arching my back at all. I don't even feel myself doing it. But, you know, you've got to figure out a way to carry that load all day. And I think my natural standing posture allows me to carry my own personal load, right? When I tuck my tailbone, that really does feel unnatural to me. So I have to just keep working on that, or at least I have to work on it when I'm in class, so that number 1, I get the most out of my workouts, but then number 2, so I can pass the test and get into the other classes, because now I want to be in there. Also, for what it's worth, sometimes I'm in the 1.5 classes and I can tell I'm not being challenged. Like, I either need the springs to be heavier, or I need the moves to be more challenging, or something. I'm not going to cancel my membership or anything like that, because I still think that whatever I'm doing over there, it has worked for me. But sometimes mentally or even physically, I just feel like, yeah, well, that was a good workout, but did I feel challenged by it? No. So I'll keep you posted on how the test day goes for me, and if I was able to test into level 2. I'm still going to be walking, and I'm still going to be lifting weights on the days that I'm not in Pilates. So nothing new is changing about my fitness routine right now. So for some of the random and relatable topics, how fitting is that? We have just spent the last hour talking about Meghan's new show. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It really reminds you of Old School Food Network. I love that she doesn't talk to the camera necessarily, and that she's in a conversation with someone, and it's just an easy, enjoyable, soothing watch. Go watch her and get into all of the things that all of us are doing, because it's going to be like the best thing ever, and it's going to make you happy. I think the next thing that I'm going to try from her show is probably the frittata or one of the cakes or the bread. I don't know. I need to see what ingredients I think I have everything I need to make the focaccia bread. So I probably should just do that just because that would keep me from shopping again. So let's put that down as the next thing I'm going to try. I'm in the process of planning my garden. You know, that was on my 2025 bingo card as well, starting a garden. And I'm trying to figure out what I should do. Now, peppers, I know for a fact I can grow. Like I've grown them more than once and I know I can do those. So I'm thinking I'm going to do jalapeno peppers. I'm thinking I should do cilantro because them two things go together. I'm thinking I should do tomatoes because all of that goes together. But I would like to stretch myself and try something else. I think last year I tried cucumbers and I was able to grow like a couple of them, but not really many of them. So I could try cucumbers again, but I don't really feel drawn to that idea. So I'm looking for another veggie to do. A friend of mine said that she was going to do lettuce. Something about lettuce kind of intimidates me a little bit. So I don't know that I'll do lettuce. But I need to figure out what else I want to grow. And I'm going to do everything in pots because pots is what I have. I'm definitely going to do some herbs. So like I said, I'll do cilantro. I should go ahead and just do basil. And a part of me wants to do lavender just because I like the way it smells. So maybe I'll do lavender. I don't know. I need to go to like a nursery or a place and see what I gravitate towards. But I know I'm going to start with at least a couple of things I just mentioned. I normally do flowers on my front porch, but because my rose bushes in the front now are so full and big, I feel like I don't necessarily need to use a pot for flowers because I have flowers all in the front anyway. I do need to go ahead and start spraying those rose bushes with that Japanese beetle killer stuff so that my roses are there like all season. Now the landscaper forgot to trim my other rose bush down. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to maintain and handle that because it's already kind of massive. And yeah, and because of where it's at in my front yard, like it starts to block a bit of the house, like a bit much. So I need to figure out what's going to happen over there. My daddy says I just need to move that rose bush, but I'm like, move it where, sir? Like move it where? I don't know where I would put it other than the backyard. And then sure, maybe I would enjoy it back there, but I'm like, I'm never back there. We don't have much of a backyard, so I don't want it to be back there because I feel like I wouldn't ever see it and neither would anyone else. So I got to figure that out. But this is that time of year where, you know, you got to freshen up your yard, get your wreath on your door. If you're going to plant something, you've got to plant it. And this is really one of my favorite times of the year. This just stretch of time right before it's like full on spring. And then it slips into summer real easy here in Atlanta. But I'm very excited. I might make time to go to the store today actually and see what jumps out at me. But I'm going to start my little garden. The book club is going well. I did miss the February book club meeting because I was busy like prepping for my trip and all of that stuff. But finished Sister. This month we're reading the Corinne Steffens book. I can't think of the name of her book right now, but if you were around when Superhead was in her heyday, what is the name of her book? I don't know. I can't think of it, but we're reading her memoir right now. So there's that. That's the book for March. I also want to get Kennedy Ryan's new book because I know it came out while I was away on my trip too. And I want to read that because I have got to read Hendrix's story. So I'm very excited for that. I need to go to a bookstore and actually buy my copy of that. I'm trying to step back up off of Amazon as much as I can. Typically, I would have gone to Target to buy Kennedy's book, and I really haven't been in there either. Like, it was real easy for me to give up Target. which is shocking to me, but maybe I wasn't even going as much as I thought I was. But not going has been very, very easy. And I do live close to a few different bookstores. We have a local bookstore in like our downtown square area. And then there's a Books A Million up the way, kind of close to Target. So I know I can find Kennedy's book like literally anywhere that I'm willing to go. Well, kind of, those are my two choices actually. And then there is a independently owned bookstore that I learned about on Instagram, not too far from me, but sometimes just with my schedule, I just don't have time during the day to go that far away and bring it back over here before this whole school pickup of it all. But I'm going to read her book too at some point this year because I want to. So that's what's going on in the book club. I decluttered my kitchen. Like, let me tell you, watching Meghan's show has really gotten me back to my roots of the things that I used to do, but then had kind of just stopped doing because for whatever reason, I had become kind of ashamed that was my life a little bit. I watched her show and I was like, you know what? In order for me to be inspired and to be creative and for me to do all of the things, I gotta have a clutter-free kitchen. So I went through my kitchen. I got rid of some stuff that we haven't used or that was old or like whatever. I'm still in the process of doing that. I've completed phase 1. Phase 2, I'm about to go through those pots. Maybe after I get off the phone with you, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to go through those pots. And if I haven't used a pot in forever, or if it's a pot that doesn't have a lid, or if I just feel like it's not even a good pot or pan, I'm going to get rid of it and either throw it away if it's damaged or scratched too bad, or I'm going to put it in my Goodwill box and take it to Goodwill because I've got to get rid of stuff that, like Marie Kondo said, is either not bringing me joy or it serves no purpose or it's just clouding up my ability to have a functional kitchen that makes it easy to do things. When you've got too much clutter in your kitchen, that makes it very hard to do stuff because instead of cooking or cutting or baking or kneading dough, you're looking for the lid to something or you're trying to find such and such pan or pot. And what I'm also doing is I'm organizing my kitchen. So I created a cabinet like underneath my coffee station, that cabinet that was underneath my coffee maker. That cabinet was literally full of water bottles and tumblers that no one was using. I got rid of all of those, right? And I turned that cabinet space into like my, let's call it my display case, right? So when I make a cake, my cake stand is under there. My serving platters are under there. All of that stuff is there now. Now the cabinet that stuff used to be in was half of my kitchen island. Right? I made that spot my baking cabinet. So now when you open that cabinet, my stand mixer, all the attachments are there, my baking pans, my bundt cake pans, anything that I need to bake a cake or make a baked good, cookie cutters, all of that are very well organized and they are underneath that half of my kitchen island. The other half of the kitchen island holds like mixing bowls, Tupperware, like the other stuff that I need to either make food or store food. All of that is there. I went through that cabinet. If it didn't have a matching lid, I threw it away because some of that stuff was just old. I threw it away. If it had a matching lid, I put the lid with the container, right? So I'm very happy with that. And believe it or not, that has reduced a lot of stress for me. Opening up those cabinets and them being like well organized has really done something for my spirit. Now, our dishware was always organized because I don't have lots of dishes like the ones that we use every day. All of our daily dishes are all white. They don't have patterns on them or anything like that. They're just different shapes for different reasons. So like we have small plates that we use, well, that I primarily use for like the kids, or if I just want a smaller plate of food, like I have the small plates, right? We have regular size full-size dinner plates. Of course, we have regular bowls that you would eat like cereal out of. Then we have those plate bowl type things. It's like the plate with the higher side on them. We have some of those. We have some of the larger bowls that maybe I would serve like a soup in, or like pho, or like when my kids eat ramen, they'll eat using those. And what else is up there? Oh, and then I have like my ridiculous salad bowls that I rarely ever even use anymore, but I have turned those into more like serving bowls. But when I do get the itch for like a really good, nice size salad, I eat out of those. But I made it a point to not buy a whole lot of dishes, even when I get tempted and I see pretty patterns or I see pretty colors or whatever. I say, nope, Tia, don't buy that stuff. Number one, because where are you going to put it? And number two, you can only eat off of one plate at one time. And we don't need to just be collecting all of the things. Like, I'm very happy with our everyday dishes. So that stuff is in its own cabinet. And then the other cabinet that I really need to attack is the one above the air fryer that has like ingredients for different things up there. I think my food processor is over there. That one is just like a mix of tricks, and I need to go through there and really tidy that up and organize that. And then the other cabinet in my kitchen has the things in it that you just hate to get rid of, right? It's the zoodle maker that I can't even remember the last time I used it. It is the panini press, which I love. We got that as a wedding gift almost 20 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get rid of that because the kids could make their own grilled cheeses or whatever using it, and they won't need me for it. But my kids let me know, oh no, if we eat a grilled cheese, we want it off the skillet. That machine is cute, and they have tried, like they have made their own sandwiches with the panini press, but they say they choose to use the skillet on the stove. They don't want the panini press. So I'm like, I should get rid of that because no one is using it. That would free up some space. Now, I do have two different Fry Daddies. Oh, no, that's not a Fry Daddy. I have a small, like the small slow cookers that you would probably use to cook like a dip or something like that. I have one of those, and I have a Fry Daddy. And I feel like the Fry Daddy we absolutely use often because my husband makes the best fried chicken. So he uses that, or if I make French fries, we'll use it. So yeah, we're keeping the Fry Daddy. That small slow cooker though, I'm like, do I really need that? I don't think I do. I haven't used it in forever. So I feel like it should go. And if it shouldn't go, it should get moved to where the big slow cookers are. Maybe. And that would free up space in that cabinet. Actually, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do with that smaller slow cooker. So we'll get rid of that. But my goal with that particular cabinet is to completely empty it out so that I can put my china there. Because now I do have nice dishes. Like I do. I have a whole set. I could probably entertain and host about 10 to 12 people with that set of stuff. I have the tea pot and like all of the things. The serving platters, I have it all. But I need a place to store it in my kitchen, and I feel like that would be a good cabinet to store it. And maybe if it was in the kitchen, I would maybe utilize it more. I'm going to have a friend over for tea. I absolutely am. And I'm going to do that this month. And I'm going to use some of that really good china. That stuff had been in my basement, wrapped up in a thing. And when I saw Meghan's show, I said, you know what? Let me go down here and get this china and bring it upstairs. Because why is it wrapped up in a box in the basement when it could be up here getting used? So I went down there. I pulled the stuff up. So now I just have to create the space for it. And the china actually has a funny story because when I shared it on Instagram, people were like, oh my gosh, like it's beautiful. Like, how did you come into china? Was that passed down to you or whatever? It's a very funny story. And I will tell it on my other number because this call is already almost an hour and 20 minutes. So yes, I will talk about that over there. along with my trip and some other things. And we are going to do another timed walk this month over there. So if you're not subscribed to my other number, get into it, because we do different things over there, and I like spill more of my personal tea over there. But then I'm also working up to pushing out fitness content over there too, in a way that's like fun and easy breezy and not so serious. So yes, I will talk about the China over there. I love my China, and I love how it came into my life. So yeah, we'll talk about that over there. And I think that is it for this call, girl. My watch says it's 11:16, but this watch work when it want to, and when it doesn't want to, it does not. Like all day today, I've had this watch on since 5:30. Let's see how many steps. And typically, getting my kids ready for school, I would have about 1,500 steps at least from just getting them ready for school. And okay, so it might not be broke today, because right now they've got me right at 3,500 steps. But this watch is doing the most. And I think because I finally broke down and I got a new iPhone, because y'all know my other phone was broken, it too was doing the most. One day my SIM card just tapped out, and my family couldn't reach me when I was on my way home from getting my hair braided. They were calling me for like 45 minutes, because it was like a 45-minute ride, and it was hit and miss. And I couldn't hold a phone call. So if somebody's call did go through, like I couldn't keep them on the phone, because then the SIM card would be like, nope, I'm actually going to take your service, but whatever. So after that, they were like, you probably should just get another phone. So I broke down and I got another phone. But I still use my old phone to record the podcast. So I am kind of loving that. But because I got a new phone, like my fitness watch was already acting crazy, and now it acts crazier. Like it's not in sync at all, I think, with my new phone. Even though I removed it from my old phone, and I did connect it to my new one. At different parts of the day, I think it just goes back to my new phone or my old phone. I think it toggles back and forth, and I don't know how to get it to stop doing that. Maybe I just need to like power off my old phone when I'm not using it. I'll try that and see if that works. But yes, I hope you found this call to be something that you could relate to. I hope we're all in a space where we're starting to be more open to trying new things and doing new things. I tried paddle boarding while I was on vacation, and I'll talk about that over on the other podcast. But you got to be open to trying and doing new things. And more than that, you got to be open-minded about other people's lived experiences in a way that is not judgmental. So let's all sit with that and be nice to one another, right? And be more understanding, because at the end of the day, if you can't do nothing else, you can either be nice or mind your own business. I don't know which one is more helpful to you in the space that you're in. But anyway, girl, when you're out, compliment a woman, say something nice to her, celebrate whatever brings her joy. Be nice, be nice, be nice. Don't compete, don't compare, don't complain. What God has for you is for you. I feel like the things that I say all the time on this podcast really mean something on this particular call. And never knock another woman's hustle. Oh my gosh, look at us. Look at us practicing every day what other people are just coming to know. Girl, I love you, and I will talk to you on the next episode of Tia's Table. Have a great day.